Pay attention to Beverly Carter, 50 years old, walking into the yard of an abandoned house on Old River Drive in Scott, Arkansas. It's 6 o'clock on a Thursday evening in September 2014. She has less than 3 hours left to live. Because Aaron Lewis, 33 years old, an unemployed construction worker and career criminal, is already inside waiting for her. On this day, Beverly plans to close one more deal and head home for dinner with her husband. On this day, Aaron planned to make her disappear forever. This is the story of how a routine house showing became a family's worst nightmare.
I wish they would let her come home.
I didn't murder her. And anything that did occur was an accident.
Beverly Carter wasn't just good at her job. She was unstoppable. #1 realtor at Cadillac Real Estate in North Little Rock. #5 in the entire state of Arkansas. She had that rare gift of making every client feel like family, turning cold transactions into warm relationships. When Beverly showed a house, it sold. At 50 years old, she'd finally found her rhythm. Married to Carl Carter for 34 years since she was barely 16, they'd built a life together through construction jobs across state lines and 3 sons who grew into men. Then came 2003, when their middle son Christopher died in a car accident at 19, leaving behind an infant daughter. That grief could have destroyed Beverly. Instead, she poured everything into raising her granddaughter and dominating the real estate market. She ran marathons. She embraced life fiercely. She understood that tomorrow isn't guaranteed, so she made every today count. Now, on September 25th, 2014, she was about to show a house to a couple offering cash. Stephen and Crystal Adams, they called themselves young buyers, eager to close quickly, the kind of clients every realtor dreams about. She had no idea they didn't exist. On paper, Aaron Lewis was just another guy struggling to make ends meet in Little Rock. 33 years old, married to Crystal Larry, working occasional construction gigs and truck driving jobs. He had a criminal record, sure, petty theft, and minor infractions, nothing violent. Just a man trying to get by in a city ranked the 19th worst place to live in America, where the crime rate ran 4 times the national average. But beneath that surface lurked something darker. Aaron Lewis had decided that working for money was for suckers. He'd been browsing real estate listings online, studying the faces of agents, calculating who looked wealthy enough to be worth kidnapping, who worked alone, who would make an easy target. And when he found Beverly Carter's smiling face on Cadillac-I's website, surrounded by awards and testimonials about her success, he knew he'd found his mark. He created fake email addresses, set up burner phone numbers, invented Stephen and Crystal Adams out of thin air. His wife, Crystal Larry, 41 years old, helped him craft the messages that would lure Beverly to that empty house. They made it look legitimate, asking questions about square footage and school districts, mentioning their cash offer multiple times, everything calculated to make Beverly eager to meet them. And it worked. Thursday, September 25th, started like any other day for Beverly. She arrived at the Cadillac office early, going through listings, returning calls, scheduling showings. Real estate doesn't sleep, and neither did she. By late afternoon, she was wrapping up paperwork when the final appointment came through. The Adams couple wanted to see the house on Old River Drive. 6 o'clock, showing, cash buyers. At 5:30, Beverly called Carl. "I've got one more showing," she told him. "Should be quick. I'll grab dinner on the way home." They'd been married long enough that these calls were routine. Check-ins. Little moments of connection in busy days. Carl told her to drive safe. She said she loved him. Normal words that would echo in his mind forever. Beverly gathered her materials, checked her appearance in the mirror, and headed out. The house on Old River Drive sat on the outskirts of Scott, near the lake, surrounded by woods and empty lots. Remote, quiet, the kind of place young families loved because the kids could run wild. The kind of place where nobody hears you scream. She pulled up in her brown Cadillac at 6 o'clock exactly, professional to the end. The door was slightly open. She probably thought the buyers had already arrived, were already inside, looking around. She grabbed her purse, her phone, her listing materials. She walked through that door with a smile on her face, ready to sell a house. She never walked back out. By 9 o'clock that night, Carl Carter was pacing the living room. Beverly should have been home hours ago. His calls went straight to voicemail. His text sat unread. This wasn't like her. Beverly always answered, always checked in, always came home when she said she would. He knew where she'd gone. She'd told him the address. He drove to Old River Drive with his heart pounding, hoping to find her there with a dead phone battery, laughing about losing track of time. Instead, he found her Cadillac sitting empty in the driveway. Her purse still inside. Wallet, phone, keys, everything untouched. The front door to the house standing open like a mouth waiting to swallow the next person who walked through. Carl searched the house, calling her name. Empty rooms echoed back silence. He checked the backyard, the garage, the neighboring properties. Nothing. At 9:30, he called the police. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Department responded immediately. Missing person cases involving adults usually require a waiting period, but something about this scene set off alarm bells. The abandoned car, the open door, the purse left behind. Beverly Carter wasn't the type to walk away from her belongings. She wasn't the type to disappear without telling anyone. Deputies searched the property. They checked Beverly's office, other houses she was selling, anywhere she might have gone. They contacted hospitals, they put out alerts, and as the search expanded, family and friends gathered at the Carter home. Nobody sleeping, everyone making calls, checking social media, doing anything to help find Beverly.
I wish they would let her come home.
Then, just after midnight, the text started coming. Carl's phone buzzed. Beverly's name appeared on the screen. Relief flooded through him for exactly 3 seconds, until he read the message. I'm fine. Phone died. All good. Something was wrong. The words were Beverly's, but the tone wasn't. She didn't text like that, didn't use those phrases. Beverly was effusive, warm, always adding extra words and emotions. These messages felt hollow, mechanical. Other texts went to Beverly's coworkers. Similar content, short, clipped, wrong. One of her colleagues, knowing something was off, sent a test message back. They had a code system at Cadillac, a safety protocol developed after too many stories about realtors being assaulted during showings. If you were in trouble, you'd ask about a red folder. Hey, did you put that red folder back on my desk? The response never came. The message was left unread. That's when everyone knew Beverly wasn't sending those texts. Someone else had her phone, had her, and whoever had her was trying to buy time. The investigation shifted immediately from missing person to kidnapping. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Department called in additional resources. FBI got involved. Media alerts went out across Arkansas and neighboring states. Beverly's smiling face appeared on every news channel, social media feed, and missing person bulletin in the region. Carl Carter stood in front of cameras, his voice breaking.
I just would like to have my wife back. I beg anybody, just take her over and drop her off on a sidewalk and keep driving.
We won't press charges. We just want her home. But even as he spoke those words, investigators were already following digital breadcrumbs that would lead them somewhere dark. Detectives started with the basics. Who were Stephen and Crystal Adams? The email address Beverly had been corresponding with traced back to a free service created just days before the house, showing the phone number was a prepaid burner purchased with cash at a convenience store. Security footage from that store showed a tall, thin man in a baseball cap. Grainy. Difficult to identify. But it was a start. Investigators dug deeper into the digital trail. IP addresses, login locations, cross-referencing with known criminals in the area. The tech work was painstaking. But piece by piece, a picture emerged. The fake identities led back to a house in another part of Little Rock, a residence shared by Aaron Lewis and Crystal Larry. Deputies began surveillance immediately. They watched the house, logged comings and goings, built a profile. On Saturday morning, September 27th, they spotted a man matching the description from the convenience store footage. Tall, thin, nervous energy, getting into a black vehicle, The vehicle matched what a neighbor near the Old River Drive house had reported seeing that Thursday evening. A skinny guy, a black car, pieces clicking into place. The decision was made to move in. But Aaron Lewis must have sensed something wrong, must have noticed the unmarked cars watching his house, because suddenly he was running. He jumped in his vehicle and took off, deputies in pursuit. What followed was a high-speed chase through Little Rock, Aaron running red lights, weaving through traffic, desperate to escape. The chase ended when Aaron lost control and crashed his car into a pole. The impact was brutal. He struck the steering wheel with massive force, sustaining severe facial trauma that left him unrecognizable. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital. Deputies stayed with him, handcuffs ready. But at the hospital, in the chaos of triage and treatment, Aaron Lewis disappeared, just walked out. Guards thought he was in surgery. Nurses thought he was in recovery. Nobody realized until it was too late that their prime suspect had vanished.
Deputies say that they are now searching for 33-year-old Aaron Lewis in connection with Carter's disappearance. They say that they consider him to be dangerous.
The manhunt intensified. News alerts showed Aaron's injured face. Tips poured in. And less than 24 hours after his escape, on Sunday morning, a phone call came into 911.
911?
Hey, I'm sitting over here. They're looking for a guy here that was involved in the realtor being kidnapped. And this guy looks like him. And he is nervous, and he's out here at the bus stop. He's wearing a black shirt and some jean shorts.
Okay, but don't tip him off or anything. We'll get someone out there.
By the time deputies arrived, Aaron was inside the subway, probably trying to get food with what little cash he had. He was arrested without incident, his face still a mess of stitches and bruises, looking exactly like what he was, a man who'd run out of options. In custody, Aaron Lewis started talking, and the story he told was almost believable. If you didn't know, he was lying through his broken teeth. In initial interviews, Aaron admitted everything. Yes, he'd lured Beverly to that house. Yes, he'd used fake names. Yes, he'd kidnapped her.
Did you kill Beverly Carter?
No.
You did not?
No.
Who did?
I had a co-defendant. I haven't seen her for 2 days. Now they're showing me pictures of this. I haven't seen her.
Another guy involved. A man named Trevor, Air Force, stationed at the local base. Trevor had Beverly. Trevor was the one who'd taken things too far. His words slurred through swollen lips. Trevor has her. Check with him. Investigators immediately tracked down Trevor. He was real. He was Air Force. And he was nowhere near Little Rock, hadn't been for months, had ironclad alibis for every minute of that Thursday evening. Aaron had just grabbed a random name from his past and thrown it out, hoping it would stick. Detectives pressed harder. Aaron changed his story. Fine. Okay. There was no Trevor. But he hadn't meant to hurt Beverly. It was just supposed to be a kidnapping for ransom. They were going to demand $100,000 from Carl Carter.
Why Beverly? Why Beverly?
She was a rich broker.
Do you have anything to say to the family?
Sorry.
What else do you want to say to her family?
Sorry.
But things went wrong. Beverly saw prescription bottles in the bathroom at Aaron's house with Crystal's name on them. She could identify them. They panicked. Where is she? Detectives demanded. Aaron led them on a tour of potential burial sites, old construction lots he'd worked at, empty fields, abandoned buildings. Each location came up empty. Hours passed. Hope faded. The Carter family waited for news that never came. Finally, investigators decided to search an old construction site Aaron had mentioned in passing, a place he'd worked months before. And there, in a shallow grave, barely covered with dirt, an officer saw something that confirmed their worst fears. Partial remains, visible through the soil. They'd found Beverly Carter. During the investigation, police had discovered something on Aaron's phone that made the kidnapping plot crystal clear. A recording. Beverly's voice, scared but steady, delivering a message. Carl,
it's Beverly. I just want to let you know I'm okay. I haven't been hurt. Just do what he says and please don't call the police. If you call the police, it could be bad. Just want you to know I love you very much.
The message had never been sent. Aaron had made Beverly record it, probably held a weapon to her head while she spoke those words, planning to use it as leverage when he made his ransom demand. But the police had responded too quickly. His plan had unraveled before he could monetize his crime. Now, that recording became evidence of premeditation, of kidnapping with intent, of a calculated plan that had ended in murder. As his trial date approached, Aaron Lewis suddenly changed his story again. This time, the version was so outrageous, so divorced from reality, that even his own lawyers must have cringed. There was no kidnapping, Aaron insisted. He and Beverly were having an affair. They'd been seeing each other for weeks. That Thursday evening wasn't a house showing at all. It was a rendezvous. Beverly had willingly gotten into his car. They'd gone back to his house, where Crystal was waiting. The three of them had engaged in a consensual encounter, and during that encounter, tragically, accidentally, Beverly had suffocated.
I'll say this. I didn't kill her. I didn't murder her. And anything that did occur was an accident.
Prosecutors tore this story apart in minutes. Beverly's phone records showed no prior contact with Aaron. No calls, no texts, no emails outside the fake Stephen and Crystal Adams accounts. Witnesses confirmed Beverly's devotion to her husband, her professionalism, her character, the voice recording where she begged Carl not to call police. Aaron claimed he'd created it using voice synthesis software, though he couldn't remember which program. You're saying, one prosecutor asked incredulously, that Beverly Carter, top realtor, loving wife, devoted grandmother, left her car and purse at a house showing to go have an intimate meeting with a stranger and just happened to die accidentally during that encounter? Yes, Aaron replied without hesitation. The jury didn't buy it for a second. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Evidence showed Aaron had researched real estate agents online, specifically looking for women who worked alone. He'd created the fake identities to lure Beverly to an isolated location. He'd incapacitated her in that empty house, dragged her to his car. The tire tracks outside the front door matched his vehicle. Soil samples from his trunk matched the construction site where Beverly was found. At Aaron and Crystal's house, investigators found duct tape matching tape residue on Beverly's face and hands. They found Beverly's DNA in the bathroom, where she'd been held prisoner while Aaron tried to figure out his next move. They found internet searches on Aaron's computer for how to demand ransom without getting caught. And they found the recordings. Multiple takes of Beverly saying, "I'm okay," and "don't call the police." Aaron forcing her to repeat the lines until they sounded convincing enough. The timeline prosecutors presented was chilling in its simplicity. Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, Beverly arrived at the house. Aaron subdued her, dragged her to his car, drove her to his home. He locked her in the bathroom while he and Crystal debated what to do next. They decided to demand ransom, but when police responded so quickly, when the investigation moved so fast, they panicked. Aaron took Beverly to the construction site. He wrapped duct tape around her face, covering her airways. He wrapped it around her hands, and then he buried her in a shallow grave while she slowly suffocated to death. Beverly Carter died alone, in the dark, the victim of a cruel act of asphyxiation. The timeline suggests she was left there for some time, long enough to understand the gravity of her situation, long enough to think about her husband, her sons, her grandchildren, long enough to understand she'd never see them again. Crystal Larry took a plea deal. In exchange for testifying against Aaron, her sentence was reduced to 30 years for kidnapping and murder.
Do you have anything to say to the family?
Are you sorry for her death?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Tears running down her face. But when asked why it happened, why they'd targeted Beverly, she had no answer, just shook her head and looked at the floor. Aaron Lewis went to trial in January 2016. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning a verdict of guilty on all counts: capital murder, kidnapping, conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without possibility of parole. Throughout the trial, Aaron maintained his innocence, insisted the affair story was true, claimed Beverly had come willingly, but his own words betrayed him. In that first interview after his arrest, caught on camera, he'd said exactly why he'd chosen Beverly Carter. "Why Beverly?" the detective had asked. "She was a rich broker," Aaron replied without thinking. A woman who worked alone, crime of opportunity, cold calculation, murder for money that he never even got to demand. Carl Carter filed a lawsuit against Cadillac Real Estate, claiming the company had failed to provide adequate safety training and protocols for their agents. The suit argued that Beverly should never have gone to that house showing alone, that there should have been policies requiring preliminary meetings in public places, that background checks should have been mandatory for potential buyers. The lawsuit was dismissed. The judge ruled that Aaron's criminal actions, not the company's policies, had caused Beverly's death. But the Carter family's point had been made. Real estate can be dangerous. Agents working alone are vulnerable. Something needed to change. Beverly's son, Carl Jr., founded the Beverly Carter Foundation. The organization travels across the country teaching real estate agents safety protocols, how to verify buyer identities, when to bring a colleague along, what warning signs to watch for, red folder code systems, check-in procedures, everything that might prevent another family from experiencing what the Carters went through. Thousands of agents have attended the foundation's seminars. Dozens of real estate companies have implemented new safety policies. Beverly's death, senseless and cruel as it was, has probably saved lives. Small comfort to those who loved her, but something. In 2020, Crystal Larry wrote a letter to the Arkansas governor. She'd found God in prison, she claimed. She was a changed woman. She deserved a reduced sentence, maybe get out in 15 years instead of 30. The request was denied. Aaron Lewis remains in prison, still insisting he's innocent, still claiming Beverly died accidentally during a consensual encounter. He'll die behind bars, forgotten by everyone except the Carter family, who will never forget him. But Beverly Carter is remembered differently. Not as a victim, though she was. Not as a tragedy, though her death was tragic. She's remembered as the woman who could sell anything, who lit up every room she entered, who built a career through determination and charm and sheer force of will. She's remembered as a devoted wife, a loving mother, a grandmother who stepped up to raise her grandson's daughter after his death. She's remembered as a runner, a competitor, a woman who refused to let life setbacks define her. If you work in real estate, take these safety precautions seriously. Meet new clients at your office first. Share your showing schedule with colleagues. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Tell your family where you're going and when you expect to return. These simple steps might seem paranoid or inconvenient, but they could save your life. Beverly Carter would still be alive today if Aaron Lewis had been forced to verify his identity at a public office before being given access to a vacant property where no witnesses existed. Stay safe out there. Watch out for each other. And if you have a real estate agent in your life, maybe send them a message tonight reminding them you care about their safety as much as their sales. Beverly Carter deserved to come home to her family that Thursday evening. Instead, a stranger with a taser and a scheme destroyed everything she built. Let's make sure her story prevents the next tragedy. What safety measures do you think could have saved Beverly's life? How can we better protect workers who meet strangers alone? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Together, we can honor Beverly Carter's memory by making sure other professionals never face the same danger she encountered on that terrible September evening.